Welcome to the Silent Thinking Podcast, a space to slow down, breathe, and reconnect. Today I'm reading from Walking the Path, A Leader's Journey by Dr. Keith McNally, a reflective story about the inner journey of leadership. Episode 3. Just listen and let the stillness support you. John walked home after talking with Jose. It felt more like a meeting than a conversation among friends. In fact, it felt like the most grown-up conversation he ever had. And as a result, he felt strangely different. Not that he was different, but something was different. Normally, he just stops by to chat with Jose. John would share what was on his mind and Jose would listen. Today felt like a meeting at his dad's farm. It went from open disclosure to a planning session. As a result, John felt different and empowered. And if he dug a bit deeper into his emotions, he felt comforted. Jose has always been a great mentor. Now John felt that he was more of a friend. John felt appreciated and understood, and this made him feel powerful, at least for the time being. When he arrived home, John walked straight to his bedroom via a kickstop in the kitchen to check if anyone was up and about. It was close to dinner time, and his mother should be busy prepping. "What's for dinner?" John asked his mother, as she labored making some dough. "Something you like," his mother said. "Chicken pot pie." "Do you need any help?" he asked in response. "Not right now," his mother replied. "It's almost finished. We'll be eating soon, but I appreciate you asking. But you could set the table." She turned her attention back to the washing some dishes. "Oh, have you seen your sister?" "No, Ma," John said. "I check upstairs." When John landed on the second floor of the house, he kept quiet. Not that he wanted to dismiss his mother's request. He just wanted to get into his bedroom without being heard. At the threshold, he turned around quietly to see if his sister was around. If she was up in her room, she normally bothered him by asking a bunch of questions. Where were you? What were you doing? Those types of questions. He was not in the mood for that right now. He wanted to open the journal and start reading. He heard no one, but for some reason, he still felt the need to close his bedroom door quietly. Maybe he was overreacting on a subconscious level, but he felt that he was in the possession of some top secret information that he had just had to keep undercover. At the very least, he did need to keep it secret from those in his family. No one needed to know that Jose's great-grandfather did cross over the mountains and came back safely. Maybe later, much later, but not now. John climbed quietly onto his bed and removed the journal from his backpack. He was still in awe of the book, although it looked even older now that he had full possession of it. John wondered where Jose kept the book. Hidden somewhere safe, of course, John thought. He almost whispered these words aloud, but caught himself. He tended to say things aloud when he got excited, but now was time for secrecy. Now was time for quiet. John opened the journal and started reading. It's now morning. As expected, there is a path through the trees. The path is overgrown with bushes and dense foliage. But there is a path. I walked until I could no longer follow the path last night. Then I set up camp. I just finished eating, and it's time to pack up and continue the hike. It feels weird to be on my own. More to the fact that it feels weird to be by myself. There's no one around me. As far as I know, no one is following me. Why would they? I really don't expect too many problems crossing the mountains. If I'm lucky, I'm sure I'll be able to make it in a few months. I don't expect I have to climb too high either. The path should lead me around, but not up. The scary thing is not knowing what's on the other side. But that's what I'm here to find out. Well, time to get going. Lots of walking today. John skimmed through some other pages and read much of the same. Jose's great-grandfather took writing in his journal rather seriously, but much of the beginning was tracking his food rations and the distance covered. I guess this is important for planning purposes, John thought. But at this point, the book had little more information. At the same time, John wanted to read more. He was literally reading another person's account of what everyone said was impossible. John wrestled with the idea of jumping to the end and gave in to temptation. He read some words about becoming a different person, personal transformation, and being given a gift. John was inspired by what he read. Jose's great-grandfather was inspiring him to break free of his fears, thinking about what might be possible, rather than just dreaming about it, was a new experience. Until now, crossing over the mountains and blazing a new path in his life was just a dream. Now it seemed that the dream could become a reality. John smiled. For the next few days, the conversation with Jose and the words written in the journal weighed heavily on John's mind. There was work to do on the farm, so he could not grab Jose's attention. In fact, Jose was off on a task and would be gone for a day or more. So when his mind wandered, he thought of what he needed to do to prepare for his trek. More and more, John wished that Jose would change his mind and come with him. He did not want to lose the one man he trusted most, and Jose was smart and wise. One of John's fears was doing the wrong thing. There was a little to no room for error on this journey. Even if he knew exactly how Jose's great-grandfather made the journey, he would have to walk in this man's footsteps from decades ago. How was that even possible? John wanted assurance. He wanted to know that he was doing the right thing, and he wanted to do things the right way. Too much, he thought, was at stake. It was encouraging to know that Jose's great-grandfather could make it over and back again. That one thought gave John hope, and he needed hope. Jose's words came back to his mind. Read his story, Jose said. Then read it again. Get to know my great-grandfather. Even I did not know him, but through the words in his journal, I could feel him speak to me. Open up your heart, John. Let my great-grandfather speak to you as well. Initially, John thought little about how important Jose's request was. But for some reason, the words began to haunt him, as if there was a deeper meaning to it all. The words echoed in his head, and the more he thought about it, the more intense the words became. Jose's great-grandfather must have been quite a man. So much so, John began to envision this man as some type of hero. He was brave enough to do something no one else had done, and he succeeded. Additionally, he came back and shared his adventures with the world, and now John had the only written record of this journey. John's thoughts quickly turned sour again. For some reason, his thoughts raced through all the possible things that could go wrong on his trek. He so wanted Jose to join him. The more he thought about it, the more internal conversations he was having with Jose to convince him that it was the right thing to do. Having someone to talk to would be nice, but he was concerned mostly with actually making the trip. He wanted to live. He wanted to survive the trek. It was all the unknowns that scared him. The what-ifs kept popping up in his head. What if I do get injured? What if I can't hunt or shoot my bow? What if? There were a lot of what ifs. So John forced himself to focus on right now. Then the other fear encroached his thinking. What if some of the stories of the mountains were true? What if there were monsters? No one really went to the mountains. maybe a mile, but not actually into and up the mountains. Again, he shook his head and forced his thoughts away. To change his thinking and to raise his spirits, he thought all of the gear he needed to bring with him. He grabbed his own journal and pencil and began to write. Bowie knife, bow and a rose, sleeping bag, blanket, change of clothes. When his brain got tired of thinking, he closed his notebook and hid it deep in his bed. Now he had to plan his escape. A few days later, John met up with Liz after work. He told his parents that he was meeting Liz for dinner near the woods by the park on the lake. They obliged but told him not to be late. When they arrived, they purchased some sandwiches from the deli and grabbed a bench close to the water. John was trying to act normally. His thoughts were elsewhere. But he liked Liz and didn't want to upset her. He had mentioned the mountains in previous conversations, but only as a wide idea. Today his tone was a bit more somber. Ever wonder what's on the other side of the mountains? John asked. No, Liz said. Why do you keep bringing this subject up? I don't know, John said, trying to hide his feelings. Don't you just wonder sometimes? Don't you just give yourself permission to wonder what's on the other side of the mountains? What is that supposed to mean? Liz asked, a bit annoyed. I mean, John started, everyone in this valley never talks about going over the mountains. Everyone is just okay with being here. Doesn't that bother you? No, Liz said. Why should it? It just seems weird, John said. No, Liz retorted. You keep talking about going over the mountain is weird. The words were spoken before she thought about what she said. I'm sorry, she said sheepishly. I didn't mean. Her words trailed off. John turned his head. He held his head down, looking blindly at the ground. Honestly, Liz said, I didn't mean that. Do you think I'm weird? John asked slowly. I just wish you would stop talking about going over the mountains, Liz said. But, John started again, do you think I'm weird? No, Liz said calmly. I don't think you're weird. But you keep on talking about climbing the mountains. It's just not something I'm comfortable talking about. Why not? John asked. Because nobody talks about it, Liz said. I'm sure I'm not the only person curious about what's on the other side, John said solemnly. Yes, Liz started. You are the only person I know who talks about it. Liz paused and thought. Weird things live in the mountains. What are you talking about? John scratched his head. Whoever said that weird things live in the mountains? I just don't like talking about it, Liz said at last. Well, John said, someday I want to find out if there's anything on the other side. Why? Liz said. Why would you do that? Liz began to cry. Why are you crying? John asked. I'm not crying, Liz said sternly. She quickly rubbed her cheeks with the back of her hand. I'm not trying to make you cry, John said. I'm just curious. His voice became solemn. I'm just curious. His voice faded. The two sat there at the park bench quietly for some time thereafter. Although the weather was still warm, Liz shivered, then wrapped her arms around herself. Are you okay? John asked. Yeah, Liz said, just a little cold. They sat there again for some time. John thought the silence was uncomfortable, but it was Liz who decided to act. I think I'm going home, Liz said. Without saying another word, she got up, took the rest of her sandwich, and walked away. John got up to follow her. Don't go. I just want to go home, Liz said. You stay. Stay here and think about climbing over the mountain. John sat back down and watched Liz walk off. He said nothing more, but watched her as far as he could until she turned the corner at the park's edge toward her home. Thank you for sharing this quiet moment with me. If this brought you peace, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the video, and share it with someone who might need a little stillness too. Until next time, keep listening inward.